Today we're going to learn about JavaScript array methods. Let's get started. Hey there everyone. Welcome back to Loop Coding Center's Web Dev not portfolio, but just Web Dev Basics series, where we touch on the basics to the standard HTML5 package set that involves HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. With this, our goal is to learn modern and practical development standards for HTML5, as well as how we can modify it through the means of CSS and JavaScript. Today we'll be focusing on specifically JavaScript, and within JavaScript, array methods. With the array methods, we'll learn how we can take arrays of data and modify them and or adjust them to perform actions that would benefit whatever function we're trying to create. So with that, let's go ahead and transition into the setup for today's video. So for today's setup, there actually won't be too much that's necessary. In the previous episode, we learned how to create arrays and how we can just place them as a statement through a simple var, naming the array, and then giving it the actual value of the array, which involves square brackets with an array of materials inside of it. These can be strings, however, they can also be numbers. We'll modify it from time to time throughout the lesson as we mess with the different methods that are given to us natively through JavaScript for these array methods. Now, what we'll do to begin is clear off what we had from the previous episode and just leave a clear console.log to work with. This will allow for us to go ahead and modify what was necessary, and let me actually just get this back to the eggs, but with this we'll have a clean slate to work with and we'll see a clear printout of the different methods so that we can see them in action. Let's jump into it. Now for today's approach, I'll be taking a bit of a twisted turn, and by that I mean that to find solutions, first we'll bring up a problem. First off, my problem right now is not being able to print out my entire shopping list. Previously, I had to add individual strings in order to get my entire shopping list printed out for me. But what if I just wanted to print out the entire shopping list without it being an array? What if I just wanted a string of the information that's in my array without it being an object? Just a long string exclaiming milk, eggs, and flour. For that, what we'll have to do is use the toString method or the join method. What we'll do to have this happen is call the value or the variable, in this case, of shopping list, and then apply either of the methods that I had stated. Again, our methods will be join, and with this, we'll see that in our printout, we have milks, eggs, and flour, all printed out as a single string. Alongside this, we can also use the alternative method of toString. In this instance, we get the same output in both cases. However, join and toString do have different approaches for actually getting the same result to happen. Though the specifics aren't important in this case, when actually using them in the future for a program, make sure to read into the specifications because it might turn into a bigger headache than it's worth. Let's move on to the next method now. Now, let's say we're approached with an issue where we want to just print out the last item on the list. Or, let's say we want to get rid of the last item on the list because we already bought it and we want to move on to the other items we have selected already. For something like this, we can go ahead and use the pop method. With pop, in the instance of this console.log, we'll find that flour, and let's just clear this console real quick to showcase this again. here we'll find that, and let me save this so it finally prints out. Yes. And let's have it give me an error. Let that happen. Add our semicolon, and then we'll see that it pops out the last item on our list. But what if I already bought my flour and I want to pop out the eggs instead, or just print out the eggs? Now, obviously, we can choose the index in the array and print out in that fashion as well, and it would be the proper thing to do. But just as a quick example, I want to show the method in action outside of the console.log. Because when we use it, it makes this method equal to that value. But if we use it outside of an instance where it is going to print out, we'll find that it will remove the flour and instead give us the next item that's on the end of the list, which is the eggs. Now, let's say instead of wanting to just remove things from our list, we actually wanted to add something. In this case, let's keep the pop in our console.log, but use the new method referred to, well, actually specifically called push, that allows for us to add an item. So here, again, you see that it's printed out flour because it's still the last item on our list. But let me clear my console and add a new string, and in this case I'll go ahead and add vanilla. With this, we'll append or add to the end of our shopping list, and in this way have vanilla be the item that's popped. Now, to showcase the entire array, I'll replace pop with join again, and here we can see that milk, eggs, flour, and vanilla are all part of our shopping list now. So with these two, pop and push, we already have a method for making a list maker, along with a way to modify the list after you've created your array. Now, for those that may have picked up on this, and though I wouldn't really expect any individual to, let's say we wanted to add something at the top of our list instead of at the bottom, or somewhere in between. For now, we'll focus on the top portion, but we'll eventually get to the rest. But in order to do so, let's go ahead and delete the method we have on line 2 and rename the method we have on line 4, which in this case we'll replace with not shiffy but shift. Now here you'll actually see that we have a bit of an error, but, well, not an error, but we actually had the same thing that occurred with pop, but happened on the opposite end of the array. Instead of the end of the array, we had shift print out the value of the top or beginning of the array. So, to show you guys an example of the shift modifying the shopping list, first item, I'm going to go ahead and place the method on line 2 again, and here we'll find that we have eggs. Now, shift, just like pop, has an alternative that allows for you to prepend or add things to the beginning of the array. And to do this, all we're going to do is pass a value to our method, and here I'll add my vanilla again, and instead of shift, I'll add un right in front of shift, UN, and with this we have vanilla. And here you'll actually see that it's printed out a value for us now. Let's go ahead and dig into why exactly that happened. I'm going to place this back into, well, for the unshift for now, and just equal to the value in this case, or at least that's what it printed out. And we'll find that unshift in the instance of the value that it returns actually gives us the length of the array if no input is added, and if the value is being called from the method, we'll find that it will return the length of the array instead of the item that's been passed or the item on the end. This is important to know because if you want to just print the beginning of the list, Shift will most likely be your best option if you're going to remove the item. However, a simple index of the top of the array would probably be your best method. With that, we're running close to the end of our time, and I'd like to say that we'll continue on exploring the different methods that we can apply to arrays just to get a strong foundation for our understanding of methods within JavaScript and really lay the groundwork for what we'll be working a lot with as we run into some problem solving that will help us with our projects inside of web development. So with that, I hope you'll be able to join us next week for more web development with Loop Coding Center. And until then, have a nice week.